Hey, welcome back to the show. Today I want to check out the Boss DS-1 distortion pedal. It's one of those pedals that's been around forever and a day and people either love or hate it. And I'm just really here just to see how we can make it work and actually sound good. I guess just like me, this pedal was built in 1978, and if you're a kid in the 90s and you got a starter pack with a Samick Strat and little Gorilla amp, chances are with your birthday money you went and bought a distortion pedal and this is what you got. I guess you didn't really question it back then as your whole setup was pretty budget and you just had this really nasty distortion in front that was really crunchy. But in the later 90s when I started getting better gear and I actually got a decent amp, I had this pedal and it was just really nasty in the front. It wasn't nasty in a good way like crunchy, it just gave off this really horrible flabby tone. I could never get anything decent out of it. And I ended up selling mine in the early 2000s on eBay. But it's only a few years ago when I started seeing this pedal pop up on YouTube and people are raving about it, saying you're just dialing it in wrong, you don't know how to use it, it's actually really cool. I thought it'd be worthwhile just to test out in the show, and that was about 4 years ago when I started doing the Capturing Tone series. So I plugged it in, turned it on, and this is the experience that I had. Right now I'm just going through the Victory VX track and the 50 watt on like the bluesy dirty channel. This is the basic tone with no pedal. I really like that sort of tone as a foundation. I think every pedal should really work with that. But we'll try it with a clean channel as well. But turning on the distortion, this is the tone. And that's the tone that I got, just this horrible farty saggy mess. Doesn't matter what I do, if I bring the level right down. And you can't really drive it there because it's not a really big full sound. Even though it does clean up when you bring the level right down, it's just cracked. As soon as you wind up that volume slightly, I'll bring up the tone. All the videos that I saw on YouTube, people were actually getting some decent tones out of this. They had strats, they were using low output pickups, and I just thought all the high output pickups of the guitars in my room, they're just going into the front, they're just clipping and sagging out, and the whole thing's just turning into like a big mess. And it didn't really even matter what I did. I tried putting the MXR 10 band EQ right in front of it, just bringing the gain and the volume right down to lower that signal just so it wasn't clipping, but then it just sounded really weak and thin. Even when I go through the clean channel, even through a pristine clean channel, it sounds a whole lot better and it's a little bit crunchier and it's tighter, but it's still not perfect in my ears, and I don't really just want the sound of the DS-1 on its own. I want to hear the amp, I want to hear a little bit of the drive, just like working with an overdrive and that sort of thing. Like, work with the amp to get the best tone. I just came to the opinion where I think, yeah, this pedal might fit in some of those sort of grunge scenarios or some blues tones, some of those quirkier things like Queens of the Stone Age, you know, like a... And I figured that's all you get out of it. That's just how it's designed. You get these sort of alternative grungy style sounds. But then I thought back to Joe Satriani's Surfing with the Alien album, and this was a really cool album that I really enjoyed growing up. And that intro riff to Crushing Day, that was apparently done on a Boss DS-1. So that's got that nasty sort of crunchy 8100 style tone. But I just couldn't for the life of me get it. And even then it's sort of in the ballpark with a little bit of that tone, but it's missing that whole crunchy front end. It's all saggy still, but something just came over me the other day and I just really wanted to try it. I'm going back to the blues channel. What happens if we run an overdrive in the front of the distortion and just really wind down that overdrive and just take everything out of it? So right now you can see the overdrive level, the drive's right down, the tone is right in the center, but I've just brought this volume right back. And it's really nothing special on its own either. It's just a really throttled back SD1. You would never use it like this in any ordinary sense. But if it's like that, now we kick in the distortion. It's actually really tight, it's really crunchy, it's usable. And what's more, it really just adds this crunchy dimension to the front end of the amp and just makes it almost sound like it's in like 8100 territory. So why not, if it starts to break up and feel like that nasty 8100, let's just try and get a Chuck Schuldiner tone. I think that's a really cool start, just to get that whole Chuck Schuldiner style tone, like that crunchy front end. But I think if we want to try and get that tone closer, we've got to simulate that contour dial on it, where as you turn it all the way to clockwise, it really scoops out the mids, adds the bass, adds that crunchy treble on top. And so for that, in the effects loop, I've got the Master Effects Puppet Master EQ, and I really am just winding up the bass, winding back the mids, and giving us some treble on top. So adding that tone as well. And that actually sounds really cool, but I think just to finish the tone from here, as well as in the effects loop, we'll just turn on the Black Label chorus. And that right there, I think that's an absolute classic Chuck Schuldiner tone. These two pedals right here, I think they're the same price combined as like an Ibanez Tube Screamer, so they're really cheap. It's totally affordable tone, and it gives your whole amp a totally different dimension. So I guess there you have it, guys. I was wrong about this pedal. I thought it was absolute rubbish for the last 30 years. I said it's like the worst pedal in the world, but I eat my words there, guys. It's actually really cool if you use it in certain ways. If you run it behind an overdrive pedal. On its own, for me, I can't get nothing but mud and rubbish out of it, but utilizing it with an overdrive pedal, it doesn't have to be the SD1, anyone can work. And it really doesn't matter when it's in front of that overdrive pedal where your settings are. It sounds good the whole range. You can get some pretty cool tones through the whole range, but until next time, guys, take care. I'll see ya. Thank you.